first time I ever heard Steve Ray Vaughan play guitar. It was like the guitar was alive, you know? And ever since then, just the sound of Texas blues. I've been hooked. Hey, Charlie Wallace here from Guitar Mastery Method, and welcome to this lesson on the Blues Solo Heatmap. Now you're going to have a PDF download for that, but I didn't just want to give you the download. So in this lesson, you're going to get a complete walkthrough of the Blues Solo Heatmap. I'm going to show you 3 simple blues licks step by step so you can see how to get started using the heatmap right away. And I'm also going to give you a full band backing track so you can use that to jam all this stuff along to. Even if you haven't done much or any blues soloing before, I think you're going to be very surprised at how easy it can be. And if you're more of an advanced guitarist, this blues solo heatmap is going to send you off like a rocket. Now you may be wondering who the hell I am. Well, my name is Charlie Wallace. I'm from New Zealand, in case you can't tell from my accent. I'm the founder of Guitar Mastery Method. And amongst being an internationally touring musician, spending time in studios, playing to thousands of people, filming music videos and all that sort of stuff, I've had 68,482 guitarists from 52 countries go through my online guitar lessons. And in case you can't tell, I'm a big blues fan, so I'm really excited about sharing this stuff with you today. And just before we dig in, I just want to I have a quick note to say to make sure you have your guitar with you and make sure it's all tuned up and ready to go. And to also let you know that even though we're going to be covering a lot of cool stuff in this lesson, this is actually just the first of a series of lessons I'm going to be giving you on the blues 100% free. And I'll let you know more about what's coming up in those next lessons a little bit later on. So right now, let's dive in and get started with this blues solo heatmap. Alright, so first of all, it's very important that you can actually read the diagram for this blues solo heatmap. So if we put one up on the screen right now, and this is the first step you're going to learn, this is actually like looking at the guitar like that if it's on the screen, okay? So you've got, you know, these, like the lowest string at the bottom, the highest string at the top. Now, if you imagine that the diagram is you looking down at the guitar, okay, and just kind of flat along the ground or on your lap, and that's how you're seeing that diagram. So for instance, if I play through the notes that you'll see on there, I'm going to play them through in this order, and you'll see the notes highlight as I go through each note. So playing this one here, and then this note here, you can see that's the low E string as we move in to the A string, to the D string, to the G, the B, and the high E. And back. Now don't worry if you're not sure of the names of the notes, okay? That's neither here nor there right now. Okay, but one note that I do want you to really memorize is called the root note. And in your diagrams, in your reference material, you'll notice that it has an extra circle around it. And that's because it's extra special and you want to really memorize that. Okay, and then because that's going to be the note of the key that you're in. Okay, so if you ever wanted to move this to be in a different key, you'd put this finger here onto whatever note of the key you want. So for instance, you want to play in the key of G, you just put your finger here. And if you don't know the notes on the low E string, don't worry about that because I'm showing you how to play it in the key of A right now. So first of all, we're going to get the first step. Okay, now we're just going to be playing an A minor pentatonic here. Okay, it's using the G pattern. Okay, and don't worry about the technicalities. Let's just walk right through it. First finger here on the 5th fret of the lower E string. And then your pinky is going to play the 8th fret up here, okay? And then on the next string, we're playing the 5th fret with our first finger, and then a 7th fret with our 3rd finger, and then 1st finger here on the 5th fret, and 3rd finger on the 7th fret, and exactly the same for those strings. So far we have this. And then for the 2 higher strings, we're just going like this. So 5th fret with our first finger, to the pinky on the 8th fret, and again. And we can walk back through it like that. Alright, so what I want you to do right now is to pause the video and just make sure you're very comfortable with that. Now, a lot of you will already know that because generally it's the first scale that people learn. So we're going to add some extra notes onto it. But again, it is very important that you do have that completely locked in before you continue on. Okay, now we're going to go pretty quickly over this. So if you need to revise over that, just take the video back just a little bit and have a go over it. Alright, so that is step 1, getting that first pattern down. Now what we're going to do for step 2 is we're going to add 3 notes. Now you notice that in your diagram there are actually more notes highlighted. Okay, so you actually have 6 notes highlighted. Now the reason is because you want to kind of think about this as another little scale of its own. Okay, so for instance what we're doing is when we get down to the bottom of this scale, if we take these 3 notes here, okay, and then move them 2 frets higher, that's what we're doing. We're just adding these 3 notes here, okay? So the 9th fret here, 10th fret, and the 10th fret. Okay, but we don't want to think of it just as this here, and then we're going to have these notes up here. We want to think of it as we can also go like this. Okay, so put your first finger here on the 7th fret of the G string, and then you're going to put your 3rd finger here on the 9th fret. And then might test some of you guys that aren't used to this kind of stuff. Put your middle finger here on the 8th fret and your pinky here on the 10th fret. And the same for the high E string. Okay, now remember that all we've done is just added this note, and this note. Okay, so alright, so I know we're going over this stuff really quickly, okay? If you need to revise over it, just have a watch through again, okay? Now I'm just going to go just one more time, nice and slowly, on the notes we've just added, these 3 here. So we're going to play our first finger here on the 7th fret, which is already a note that we have, but we're playing it with a different finger. And then our 3rd finger here on the 9th fret, and then our middle finger here on the B string on the 8th fret, and then our pinky, 4th finger on the 10th fret down here, okay, and then on the high E string, exactly the same, 8th fret and the 10th fret. Okay, so it's important you want to have that memorized and you want to have that memorized before you move on. So those are your first 2 steps, and then we have 2 more, and then you're going to have your full blues solo heat map. Now you're probably wondering how we're actually going to use this to make a solo. Okay, now don't worry, we're going to cover that. We're going to start jamming to the backing track a little bit later and also show you some licks to get started. But for now, just make sure you have steps 1 and steps 2 memorized, or at least you can just look at the sheet to remind yourself. Look at your reference material that has those steps in it. Okay, so well done for sticking with me, and we're going to be continuing to build on that solo heat map. And obviously just taking it step by step like this allows you to understand it a whole lot better instead of just being like, here's the whole thing, right? This way you're actually going to be able to use it. So just now, I just want to let your brain rest just for a quick second, because we've already covered a lot, and the next few steps are going to be really, really fun. Now, a few years ago, I was hanging out with Billy Gibbons, of course, legendary blues guitarist from ZZ Top, and I was asking him a lot of advice. And one thing that he said, he talked a lot about recording studio stuff and spending time in the studio. And one thing he said to me was that you can't get it right the first take. And so he elaborated on that a little bit more. And he was saying that in the studio, especially these days, you have to be so good. Okay, because people are literally making music with their computer these days, and it's kind of getting away from the old standard good guitar and that kind of stuff. But the thing about a computer is that it is perfect. And he was saying that if your music is going to be judged next to music that is made by a computer, you've got to make sure that it is on the money. So you see that you can't get it in one take. So what I'm bringing this up for is just to remind you that while you're doing this stuff, and when we go to start going through the licks and that kind of thing, if you're playing it and you're thinking, hey, this just isn't sounding exactly how I want to, or you just can't get one bit, you know, you're trying to get one lick and you just can't play it, don't worry, because even the legends, like for instance, Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top is standing in front of me saying, you can't do it the first take. Of course, you know, you can play it and it might sound awesome the first time, but you're always going to be able to improve. So keep that in mind. As you're going through this stuff, don't judge yourself too harshly, alright? Just take it one step at a time and just keep building upon your skill level every single day. So if you're a fan of Billy Gibbons, just a quick little teaser, in the next lesson I'm actually going to show you a really cool ZZ Top inspired 12-bar blues riff, and it's really easy to play, but it sounds absolutely awesome. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that later on, but for now let's dig back in and add some extra notes onto that blues solo heat map. Alright, now we're going to add 3 more notes, and that's going to complete the skeleton of your blues solo heat map. So there's 3 notes. If you know a D chord, it's just those 3 notes there. Okay, so 12th fret on the G, 12th fret on the high E, and 13th fret on the B string. Now, again, we're not going to just add those 3 notes. Just the same as when we added these notes here, we created a little mini scale here. We're going to do the same over here. Now you notice we're still using those 3 notes that we added last time, but of course moving over here. So this is how we're going to play it. Okay, so first finger here on the 9th fret of the G, we're going to play that, and then we're going to play our 3rd finger here on the 12th fret. Just like that. And then our first finger is going to move here to the 10th fret on the B string, and then our pinky is going to play the 13th fret. So we have this. Okay, and then on the high E string, we're just going 10th fret with your first finger, and 12th fret with your 3rd finger, so this. And if it was backwards. Okay, so just remember that we're just adding these 3 notes here, and we can walk through this like this. Alright, so practice that, pause the video. Once you're ready, move on to step number 4, which is the 4th and final step before we have our full blues solo heat map. So I'm trusting that you paused the video and went through that. Okay, so step number 4 is we're going to add in some blues notes. Now, we're covering quite a lot of stuff really quickly. Okay, so if you're thinking, man, this is all the stuff's really hard to remember, don't worry, because you're going to have your reference material that you can refer back to as many times as you want, and you've got that just below, so you can go and download that. Okay, so what is these blues notes? Okay, now the blues notes just sit inside of the patterns, and it's actually just one note. And we're going to play that note here, and we're going to play that note here, and we're going to play that note here. It's just 3 octaves of the same note. Now, when we play that in, for instance, a solo, we don't actually go like this and just hang on that note, because it gives us that diminished kind of sound. But what we do is actually pass through it, just that, and just sounds really cool. See, just going, sliding in and out of it. All right, so we have it here, and notice how it is 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it's always 3 consecutive notes. Okay, so we just start out, instead of going like this, we're going to go 1, 2, 3. Okay, so 5th fret on the A string, 6th fret on the A string, and 7th fret on the A string. Now you see those, you've got those 3 strips where it's highlighted. Obviously we're only adding in 1 note, okay, but it's really good way to visualize how we're just going to have those 3 together, because usually you want to play at least one of those notes either side of the blues note when you do actually play a blues note, just to make it sound bluesy instead of just being kind of a wrong note, so to speak. So as we go through that scale, what we're going to do is we're actually going to add in the other blues note here. Okay, so our pinky here on the 8th fret of the G, we're actually going to go like this. So if we're just playing that first pattern that we learned, that first A minor pentatonic scale pattern, so just quickly, a pentatonic scale means 5-tone scale. Now, don't worry about the theory, okay? That's not what this is about. This is about showing you how to play some solo stuff, okay? We can get to that later on. So as we walk through this, we're just going to add our pinky here onto the 8th fret, okay? And then continue the scale as normal. So there's only 2 strings that are different, okay? The A string and the G, where we're going to play the pinky here. So instead of going straight through like that and back, we just play those blues notes as well. All right, now, as we played this like that, we can also play that like that down there, okay? So just going from the 7th fret to the 8th fret to the 9th fret. So if we were gonna go like this, like we did in step 2, we can just walk through those blues notes there. All right, now our third and final place where we have the blues note is right down here. Okay, so I'm sure you're getting the hang of this now. Okay, so we just walk through like we normally would, but we're just gonna play that extra note in there now. So now we're going to cover, you know, licks and that kind of stuff very shortly, but just to show you the difference between with or without the blues note, okay? So for instance, something like this. Turns into this. Okay, and see how it just sounds a whole lot more bluesy just by adding in those blues notes. So I'm going to show you how to actually incorporate those blues notes into licks very, very soon. But obviously it's very important that you have a strong grasp of each of those 4 steps of building the blues solo heat map. So just to recap, we have step 1, which is just to get the basic A minor pattern here. And remember that this note here is very important to remember, the root note. Okay, now don't worry exactly why, okay, you'll get to that as you continue through lessons, but it's just something you really want to remember. Then we built these 3 notes on top, and we created this little scale here. And then we added these 3 notes up here, okay, for step 3, and we went like this. All right, and that built the whole skeleton, and then we just added those blues notes. Okay, so remember that you want to get a very strong grasp of that. If you can completely memorize it, then awesome. If not, all good. You just want to make sure you have your reference material close at hand so you can refer back to it. Alright, so now you have that blues solo heat map completely locked and loaded and memorized, right? Well, unless you have some kind of super brain or you have a photographic memory, chances are you don't have all of those notes completely memorized right away. But that's all good, because once we start going through the licks that are inside of this, this blues solo heat map, all those notes are going to become a whole lot easier to remember. Also remember to download your blues solo heat map below this video, and so you can actually have that in front of you while you're jamming, and that's going to be the perfect reminder of where those notes actually are until you do have it completely memorized. So let's get stuck into some licks and actually start playing some bluesy stuff that is inside of this blues solo heat map. Just a quick note that below you have in your reference material the tablature for all the licks we're about to do. So the first one, we're just going to take it nice and easy, get you all warmed up. So make sure your guitar, again, is all in tune, and let's get stuck in. Lick number 2, still in the key of A minor. And this time we're going to be kind of walking down the scale pattern. So our first finger down here on the 5th fret of the high E string, and we're going to play that. And then either your pinky or your 3rd finger over here on the 8th fret. I would recommend using your pinky. You're going to play that. And then your first finger over here on the 5th fret of the B string. And then your 3rd finger over here on the 8th fret, okay, of the G. And then we're going to play that. And that's where we do the slide. Okay, so blues note, and we're sliding back just to the straight pentatonic pattern right there. And then going to the 5th fret with your first finger, and then low E string, sorry, D string with your 3rd finger on the 7th fret, and that of course is the root note because we're in A. Chuck on some vibrato there if you like. And you can play around with, especially with that blues note, instead of just going, okay, you can play it really straight like that, or you can practice going really quick over that blues note like I was just doing before. So what I want you to do is to pause the video right now and spend a little bit of time getting used to that lick before continuing on. Have a look at your Blues Solo Heatmap download and check out how it's just using some of those notes from the Heatmap itself. And when you have it completely memorized or close enough, then move on to this next lick. Lick number 5, we're going to be moving out of the G pentatonic pattern and we're going to be moving into the E pattern, and this is what it sounds like. So we're sliding into the 9 with our middle finger, and we're doing one of those slides where we don't necessarily want to have a starting note. Okay, so we're not going like this. Okay, you're not hearing that note. We're just going straight into the 9, okay? So it's absolutely fine if you want to play around with it afterwards and add in that note, okay? But for now, we just want to just hear that 9 and just hear that slide into it. And then your first finger is going to play the 8th fret on the B string, and then the 3rd finger is going to play the 10th fret. So we have this kind of shape here. Okay, it's just that we're getting the slide first. Alright, and then we're going to be going down here onto the 8th fret of the high E string, playing that. And then we're playing the 10th fret back here on the B string. And the first time that we play it, we're going to be playing it staccato, so that means we want to get a stabbing sound. So instead of, we're going to be going like this, and just playing it, releasing the pressure, just lifting our finger slightly off the string so that it's going to stop making noise like that. And we're going to play that note again and put a bit of vibrato on it. Alright, so we've just explored a slightly different area of the blues heat map with that lick. So again, pause the video, practice over it, get really used to it, memorize it, and then when you are ready, then move on to the 3rd and final lick. Lick number 9 is a fantastic way to end a series of licks, or if you're coming to the end of a solo or anything like that. So what we're doing is we're basically just walking through again, just with the A minor pentatonic scale pattern, or the G pentatonic pattern in the key of A minor, I should say. Okay, and so we start here on the 7th fret, and what we're going to do is this. Okay, So we start on that note and we come back to it. So we start out just playing 7 with our 3rd finger on the D string and the 5th fret with our 1st finger on the D string. And then we have this blues note right here that we can walk through. Okay, so we're going to play those 2 notes at the start, play the 7th fret on the A string, play our middle finger here on the 6th fret, so that's where the blues note is. And then when we play our 1st finger here on the 5th fret, we're going to hammer on that blues note again and then do a pull off. Okay, so we're going hammer on and pull off. Okay, and then when we do that, we're going to be doing triplets. Okay, so that means we have to do it a little bit quicker. So just the same speed that would play 2 notes, we have to play 3 notes. Okay. All right, and then our pinky is going to reach up here onto the 8th fret of the low E string. We're going to play that note, and then a 1st finger here on the 5th fret of the low E string, and that's our root note. We're going to hang on that just for a little bit, and then we're going to go back to the octave of it, which is the note that we started, and add some vibrato. So now you can play around with this as much as you like. You can feel free just to stay on that low E string. Okay, but it definitely does sound good, and it's a real Texas feel when you do pop back up to that octave. One more time, nice and slow. Well done, we've covered a huge amount so far. Now what I'd like for us to do now is to actually have a little bit of a jam together. And that way you'll be able to see the licks that we've just gone through actually in action to a backing track. You can have a go at playing them yourself, and then we're going to have a little play around with experimenting and just doing some improvisation over that to kind of link in between the licks. So when you make stuff up just on the spot, it's called improvisation, or improv for short, and it can be quite a daunting task if you've never done it before, but once you get the ball rolling and get a little bit of momentum, then it's really easy and it's a lot of fun. Now one reason why it is so easy is because with your blues solo heat map, as long as you just play notes from that, you're going to be perfectly in key to the jam track we're just about to play. So let's get this track rolling and start jamming. Alright, so we have the blues solo heat map. Okay, now you probably want to have that right in front of you while we do this jamming exercise. And we also have the licks that you've learned. So now we're going to put them together and play along to the jam track. So you have this backing track in the key of A, which you can download below in MP3 format. And you can also play it directly on this page. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to walk through those licks that, that you've just learned. And you'll see how they sound absolutely perfect to the backing track. And then I'm going to show you how to start experimenting a little bit and having a little bit more fun with this blues solo heat map. All right, so we're going to line up the backing track. Going to chuck on these headphones so I can hear what I'm doing, and we'll get started. So we're going to start out with that first lick, okay? So finger here. It's nice and slow. If you want to speed it up, get faster on that slide, or if you have to go slow, that's absolutely fine. If you are if even that speed's hard for you, then absolutely fine. Just play the notes. It doesn't even matter if it's in time. For now, just play the notes. Okay, but if you are a little more experienced, have fun playing around with the lick, right? Go up the lick. All right. Alright, so have a little play with that. Okay, and of course we have this second lick as well. So like that, all right? If you have to play it slow, that's absolutely fine. Alright, have a play with that. And we of course had our third lick that we did. Alright. Now listen what happens when I link all three of those together. Alright, see how it sounds like a little mini solo? Alright, so that's what I want you to do first of all, okay? Just be playing those licks, okay? Swap between them, go in different orders. Now, once you've got used to that, you can play any note from the blues solo heat map and it's going to be perfectly in key. So first of all, you just might want to just start, you know, experimenting and playing through those little patterns that we had, like this. Right, and then change it up. So don't worry if it's not too musical yet, alright? We're gonna get to that, okay? For now, just play those notes, okay? And if you're having trouble even doing that, just play random notes from the map. Just, you know, have it in front of you, look and be like, right, I can play this note, I can play this note. You do stuff like that once you know how to do it, right? Go back to those licks that you know, just experiment as much as you can. Alright, let's go around one more time. Okay, so you can do whatever you like. Alright, so wanted to keep this one pretty simple so that you could get your bearings with it. Alright, so once we get to the third lesson, we're going to be adding in those major notes, mixing major and minor, and as we're going to add in some Stevie Ray Vaughan style stuff, it's going to really light it on fire, so to speak. But if you want to get the most out of this and you want to really get used to that blues solo heat map, okay, just take it one small step at a time, okay? Go over those licks, and again, in the lessons that are going to be coming, we're going to have a lot more cool stuff for you to sink your teeth into, and I know that you're really, really going to love it. So remember that below this video, you have your reference material, which covers the blues solo heat map, the tablature for all of the licks that we just went through, and you also have a download for the jam track that we've just jammed along to. Alright, so you can either play that straight on this page or download it to your computer, chuck it on your phone, chuck it on a CD, play it on your stereo. Okay, so you want to make sure you go download those right now if you haven't already. Now, you may feel like you've just been trying to drink from a fire hose, and that's completely understandable because we have covered quite a lot in a very short amount of time. So what I'd like for you to do right now is to just go take a break. So go have a coffee or have a beer if you like, because I think that you've earned it. And then come back to this lesson and then watch it through a second time. Because the second time you watch it through, you're gonna pick up a lot of the stuff that you may possibly have missed the first time. And it's also just gonna make everything a lot more crystal clear. Okay, so again, we have covered a huge amount, so if it does feel like you're trying to drink from a fire hose, that's completely understandable. But again, going through this video, the second time, everything will start to be crystal clear. And don't think that you only have to watch it 2 times, because you can of course watch it as many times as you need. So if it still isn't quite sinking in, if you're quite new to this stuff, just keep watching till it makes sense, because every single time you watch, you're going to pick up something new. So in this lesson, we have covered the steps to build your blues solo heat map, 3 licks that are inside of that heat map, and we also started jamming those licks and also starting to improvise in the key of A to that backing track that you have. Now, if you have any questions about anything that we've covered here today, then just let me know in the comment section below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I really want to make sure that you do understand everything, because it's a whole lot of fun when you do start to use this blues heat map, you do improvise and everything just starts clicking. Okay, so any questions, just let me know in that comment section below. The next lessons won't be so drinking from the fire hose like, but this one here covers a lot for a reason, because it's going to really set the foundation for you to absolutely smash the other lessons in this series so you can get some awesome results. So coming up in lesson number 2, I'm going to show you a really easy but absolutely epic sounding 12-bar blues riff, which is completely inspired by Billy Gibbons and ZZ Top. Then in lesson number 3, we're going to cover the elusive hybrid scale, and I'm going to show you how to mix major and minor together to sound like a complete pro. Now this is like instantly adding a whole lot of hot sauce to your guitar playing, and is part of the reason why guitarists like Stevie Ray Vaughan just sound so epic. So in closing for this lesson, I've got 2 questions for you, and I'd like for you to leave me your answers in the comment section below. So question number 1, what is your favorite blues song? For me, it's Texas Flood by Stevie Ray Vaughan. Every time I crank it up and I just sit down and close my eyes and just listen to it, I just get goosebumps, and so that I just can't go past that. So that's mine, Texas Flood. Alright, so let me know what yours is. And question number 2, what was your favorite part of this lesson? Was it building your blues solo heat map? Was it learning those blues licks that use the heat map? Was it jamming along with me in the key of A, or just jamming to the backing track at all? Okay, and also let me know if you're looking forward to more blues lessons just like this one. So if you are, just let me know in that comment section below. Just say something like, yes Charlie, give me more blues lessons. Alright, so answer those questions for me below, and keep an eye out for lesson number 2, which you'll be receiving very soon. I hope you enjoyed going through this lesson as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you. So make sure you leave me a comment below, and I'll see you in lesson number 2.